Welcome, everyone, to our exploration of APUSH Period 4, covering the years 1800 to 1848. This period was marked by significant transformations in American society and politics. Let's begin with Jeffersonian America from 1800 to 1812. This was a time when Thomas Jefferson's value of a nation built on agrarian values shaped the political landscape. Next, we have the War of 1812 and the era of good feelings spanning from 1812 to 1824. This began with a conflict but transitioned into a brief period of political unity and national pride. Moving forward, the Age of Jackson from 1824 to 1840 introduced a new style of leadership and expanded democratic ideals. The market revolution from 1790 to 1860 was transformative, ushering in economic changes with the rise of industry and innovation. Simultaneously, the Age of Reform, covering 1790 to 1860, saw efforts to improve society, from abolition to women's rights. Lastly, we touch on the South and slavery from 1787 to 1860, a critical theme that underscores the tensions leading to the Civil War. As we move into the specifics of Jeffersonian America next, consider how these themes interconnect and lay the groundwork for the nation's evolution. Jeffersonian America marks a transformative period from 1800 to 1812. During these years, we witnessed significant shifts in the political landscape. First, let's consider the ethos of the time. Thomas Jefferson's presidency ushered in a new era that emphasized democratic principles and more agrarian focused economy. Jefferson's leadership style and vision contrasted sharply with the Federalist approach, promoting a more inclusive and participatory government. Another key aspect was the emphasis on individual liberties and states' rights, which became central to Jefferson's policies. This period laid the groundwork for political and social changes that would ripple through the country. Keep in mind these changes weren't just political, they also affected everyday lives, shaping a new American identity. As we move forward, consider how these foundational shifts set the stage for future events like the Revolution of 1800, which we'll discuss next. The election of 1800. The election of 1800 is a pivotal moment in American history. This is when the Federalists lost control of both the executive and legislative branches, marking a significant political shift in the young nation. Thomas Jefferson stepped into the presidency as the first Democratic Republican leader. This transition was so remarkable that it earned the nickname the Revolution of 1800. Why? Because it was the first peaceful transfer of power between political parties, a hallmark of democracy. Jefferson's words, quote, "We are all Republicans, we are all Federalists," beautifully encapsulate his vision of unity. He emphasized that despite political differences, the nation shared common goals and values. Think about how this peaceful transition set a precedent for future elections and what that means for us today. Federalists, after losing the executive and legislative control in 1800, sought to maintain influence through the judicial branch. They enacted the Judiciary Act of 1801, creating new judicial positions. These were famously known as the Midnight Appointments. This was an effort by the Adams administration to ensure Federalist judges held power before their term ended. One of these appointees, William Marbury, became central to an important legal case where he sued James Madison for not delivering his commission. This case, Marbury versus Madison, set the stage for a critical development in the judiciary. As we delve into Marbury versus Madison, think about the long term impact this has had on the balance of power in the U.S. government. This wasn't just about one case, but about shaping the authority of the Supreme Court. Let's explore how this decision laid out the groundwork for judicial review, a cornerstone of the court's power. Marbury versus Madison, 1803. This case was crucial because it established the Supreme Court's role in determining the constitutionality of federal laws. At the heart of it was Chief Justice John Marshall, whose decisive ruling expanded the judicial power dramatically. The key takeaways here is the concept of judicial review. This means that the Supreme Court can declare federal laws unconstitutional, a power that wasn't explicitly outlined before this case. It's thanks to John Marshall's leadership that the judiciary became a co equal branch of government, ensuring that laws align with the Constitution. Consider how this ruling has shaped the balance of power in the United States. Without it, the judiciary might not have had the authority it exercises today. This moment marked the expansion of judicial power, setting a precedent that still influences our legal system. Think about how these principles established here continue to impact our lives and governance. Let's delve into how Jefferson truly embodied or diverged from his Jeffersonian principles. Jeffersonian Democratic Republicans strongly emphasized a strict interpretation of the Constitution, advocating for limited federal government and a robust support for farmers. Yet, in practice, Jefferson didn't entirely dismantle Federalist policies. He eliminated excise taxes and lowered national debt, but he also retained the Bank of the U.S. and the debt plan, which some might see as a nod to Federalist ideas. One of the most interesting points is Jefferson's decision regarding the Louisiana Purchase. Although the Constitution didn't explicitly allow the executive branch to purchase foreign land, Jefferson moved forward with this monumental idea. He displayed a pragmatic use of the Constitution's implied powers, demonstrating he's more of a realist than a strict ideologue. This move shows Jefferson's flexibility when it came to enhancing the nation's prospects, even if it meant stepping outside his usual strict interpretation. Jefferson's willingness to adapt and his vision for the nation reveal a complex, pragmatic leader who sometimes opted for broader interpretation of his principles when it served the country's larger interests. Let's examine the Louisiana Purchase, a key moment in American history. First, it's important to note that this purchase literally doubled the size of the United States. Imagine the vast opportunities this created for expansion and growth. This was a monumental step towards realizing Jefferson's vision of an agrarian society filled with independent farmers working their own land. This acquisition also strategically removed France as a potential threat on our borders. By doing so, Jefferson not only secured peace and stability, but also further weakened the Federalist Party. This shift in power dynamics was significant for the nation's future political landscape. Finally, we can't overlook the exploratory expedition of Lewis and Clark, who ventured towards the Pacific Northwest. Their journey laid the groundwork for U.S. claims to the Oregon Territory and the Pacific Coast, extending the nation's reach and influence. The Louisiana Purchase was more than a land deal. It was a strategic decision that reshaped our nation's destiny. Let's look at the complex figure that was Aaron Burr. First, it's crucial to understand his controversial ambitions. Burr plotted with some radical Federalists to secede New England states from the Union. This was a drastic move, highlighting the political tensions of the time. Next, we have the infamous duel in 1804 where Aaron Burr killed Alexander Hamilton. It's a stark reminder of how personal and political rivalries could escalate dramatically in early American politics. Finally, Burr's ambition didn't stop there. He plotted to take part of Mexico from Spain and potentially unite with Louisiana Territory under his rule. Although he was put on trial for treason, he was ultimately acquitted. This trial is a fascinating chapter in legal history showcasing the thin line between ambition and treason. As we move forward, keep in mind Burr's actions and their implications in American politics and law. Let's examine the challenges the U.S. faced with the ongoing war in Europe. The conflict abroad was creating significant issues for American neutrality. This period was marked by multiple violations, notably the impressment of American sailors into the British Navy. This practice was a direct affront to American sovereignty and inflamed tensions between the two nations. In addition, France's Berlin Decree in 1806 was a critical point. By declaring they would seize ships trading with England, France placed American merchants in a precarious position. England countered with the Orders of Council, mandating that ships must dock in England first. This back and forth placed immense pressure on American trade and neutrality. One of the most dramatic incidents was the Chesapeake Leopard affair in 1807, where the British ship Leopard attacked the American ship Chesapeake. This confrontation was more than a battle at sea. It became a symbol of escalating tensions and increasing provocations faced by the United States. These events set the stage for significant responses by the U.S. government, which we will explore next. Jefferson's response to the international challenges of the time was the Embargo Act of 1807. This act was a bold and sweeping measure. It banned U.S. trade with all foreign nations. All foreign nations. Now let's consider its impact. The embargo caused the U.S. economy to plummet, a significant and immediate consequence that affected many American livelihoods. Interestingly, while it had negative effects, it also had an unintended positive consequence. It helped fuel the Industrial Revolution in the New England region. This aspect shows how even challenging situations can lead to unexpected opportunities. Jefferson's decision, though controversial, was a pivotal moment in shaping the economic landscape of the United States. As we transition into the presidency of James Madison in 1809, let's explore how we navigated the challenges left by his predecessor. First, Madison introduced the Non Intercourse Act, allowing trade with all nations except France and England. This was an attempt to maintain some economic activity while responding to ongoing tensions. Then came Macron's Bill Number 2, which was a strategic move. It offered to lift the embargo if either nation respected U.S. neutrality. This was a clever way to leverage trade as a diplomatic tool. Meanwhile, a group in Congress known as War Hawks emerged in 1811. These individuals pushed for military action against England. Their motivations were threefold: to stop British harassment, eliminate native resistance, and perhaps even seize Canada. This marked a significant shift in U.S. foreign policy. As we move forward, we'll see how these decisions and pressures led to further conflict. Let's look at the impact on Native American tribes next. Native resistance on the frontier. In 1811, two key figures emerged: Shawnee brothers Tecumseh and the Prophet. They were pivotal in forming a confederacy of tribes east of the Mississippi to resist American expansion. This was a significant movement, showcasing the unity and strength of Native American tribes at the time. However, their efforts faced a major setback at the Battle of Tippecanoe. William Henry Harrison led an organized army against them, resulting in a substantial blow to Native resistance. This battle not only marked a win for American expansion, but also set the stage for future conflicts. Notice how this conflict ties into the broader narrative of American expansion and the growing tensions leading up to the War of 1812. Keep these connections in your mind as we move forward. Understanding these events help us grasp the complexities and tensions of this period in American history. As we move into 1812, tensions have reached a boiling point. The United States, led by President Madison, declared war on England, a significant moment in our young nation's history. There were several reasons for this bold decision. First, England's actions, particularly their arming of Native Americans on the frontier, posed a direct threat. This was seen as an unacceptable intrusion that needed to be addressed. Second, England's continued violations of U.S. neutrality were impossible to ignore. Despite efforts to maintain peace, these breaches of neutrality were a continual source of frustration and conflict. Finally, let's not underestimate the influence of the Warhawks in Congress, who were vocal advocates for war. Their push was driven by the desire for more land and the need to protect American honor. They also saw this as an opportunity to favor France over England, aligning with the Democratic Republican perspective at the time. All these factors combined to create an environment where war seemed not just a necessity, but inevitable. Keep these motivations in mind as we explore the unfolding events of the War of 1812.